Hello. I took a little break yesterday. I still have a lot on my mind, but I'm back out in nature today, grounding myself, listening to the birds, looking at the water at the lake. Um, it's been a lot. It's been a lot to deal with lately, but I'm making it, and I realize that the only way out is through, and the only person that can screw this up for me is me. So, even though it's not been a great past 2 days or so, um, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to walk the walk. I'm not going to tell you guys to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So, even though I slept in today, I didn't get up until around 11:30, which is really late for me, but I don't have any cakes today and I don't have my son. So, I did take that time without even realizing I was going to take that time, but I didn't set any kind of alarm. Um, yeah, so I'm getting back balanced. I got up, put one foot in front of the other. Thank God for waking me. Thank Him for giving me everything that I need right when I need it, for being my sole provider. I'm giving all of these things that are on my mind up to Him to handle in His time. And I know that He's got me, and there's nothing to worry about. I have had so many dreams lately that have revealed people that I didn't even think were involved. I don't have any close friends at the moment, but even people that I still felt were my friends, I kept at a distance because I didn't want them to be drug into this. But even some people that I have kept my distance from have been revealed as being involved in it. One of them kind of shocked me. The other two, it's not bothering me as much, but it still, bothered me a little. But one of them in particular sent me $50 for my birthday, and we saw a movie about a year ago together. I've always considered him like my closest guy friend. And I sent him a message. I don't have anybody's number in my phone anymore, really, since I changed phones again. But I sent him a message on Instagram when I started this channel and told him, like, even though I'm not trying to involve him in every detail of what I'm going through, I didn't want anybody to reach out to him and ruin that, whatever was left of that relationship. But I told him to check out my channel because it would explain things without me having to involve him, and he didn't respond at all. So that was kind of an indication, but in my dream, he was revealed as being involved, and I've never done anything to this person, and I hold him very dear. So it's disappointing, very disappointing that he would have been involved. But if I look back at, some of the things that he had revealed to me about the way he had treated other people, I met this person through a friend at work because he was dating her at the time we met, and he had told me things that he had done behind her back. So I knew he wasn't squeaky clean, and none of us are. I mean, I never cheated on my husbands, but I definitely had the Jezebel spirit attached to me back in the day, and even though I'm very selective with my partners, didn't consider it sacred at all. So, I have cheated on boyfriends in the past, and they weren't married, but he bought her a house, and they fully, I think, planned on getting married, but he did some things behind her back that I was shocked about, like really shocked about. So I guess this shouldn't surprise me, because if he could do those things to her, then I guess he has it in him to turn his back on me. But yeah, that I had to stomach. I also saw my oldest son the other day. I think it was very much planned because they want to make me sad. They want to bring me down. They want me to be in a lower vibration. So I was coming out of Subway and he was going into Domino's, and it was timed very much perfectly for us to cross paths. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he looked away, and then he looked back, and he stared at me for about 30 seconds. And then he looked forward again and kept walking. And then when we drove by, he turned his back to the window when we drove by. So months ago, just a song on the radio, or us coming across videos of him in my old phone or on the memories in Facebook would make me very sad. So sad that I would break down and cry. But I have grown and healed so much, even in a short time of going through this, that I didn't cry. I thought about it, and my son was like, let it out right here, right now, before we get back home, because I don't want them to see you sad. And I thought about it, and it just didn't come. So I'm proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself for how far I've come, even with the sacrifices that I've made recently. I've come a long way with not letting those things bother me and bog me down. Also struck a nerve with my youngest son yesterday about some things that are about to come to the surface, but I'm not pushing him. I know that I have laid the groundwork for him, and we have a great bond, that he will eventually talk to me about these things so that I can help him. But my ex-husband has stooped to some really, really low levels involving him, trying to get him to be like him and just do some horrible, horrible things, perpetuate some abuse that I know that he's gone through and he's never gotten help with. But I just told my son that I have my eye on the prize still, and I want to show him the way that life should be, how he can be happy, and we will be completely happy away from these evil people very soon. So those things have weighed on me, but being out in nature today has really made me a lot lighter. It's put things into perspective. And I am, yesterday, I want to talk about soothing, self-soothing. And you can self-soothe with a lot of things, but most of the things that we self-soothe, if I could say that, most of the things that we go to would be drugs or alcohol or things that are not good for us. But you can also self-soothe with some positive things. And I started with, I always use my external first to calm my internal. First, I'll pray. I prayed ferociously yesterday. I had a good cry. And then I started to organize and make my environment conducive for healing. And so I decluttered. I took the trash out. I emptied the dishwasher. I washed and dried clothes and put them away immediately. I ate some healthier food, water, cleansed my space with some Palo Santo incense, and journaled. And obviously journaling is great. I feel like making videos for me is healthier because, for one, I'm helping other people, and two, I'm getting it out. Sometimes journaling, I have so much to get out that my hand starts to hurt and I'm just filling up pages and pages, which is good. I'm not saying that's bad, but I can get a lot more out when I make videos. And some other self-soothing things that I use, scents, burning candles or incense, hugging yourself. Give yourself a big hug. Ask your angels to hug you, your spirit team to wrap their arms around you. You're never alone, so they're always there. You can definitely feel their presence, especially when you ask them for help. Turning on music, soothing music, high vibrational music, things that uplift you. Dancing, like I've said, changing your environment like I am today. Thanking God that I have this beautiful place out here to go that's not far from my home, so I don't use much gas. to get out of that house and that heavy energy that's there. Stretching. Make sure you stretch, open up your chakras, get that energy flowing through your body. Don't let anything get stuck in the channels. A warm shower definitely be comforting. Soft things you can touch, like a blanket or a sweater or a stuffed animal. Fun fact about me, I used to rotate my stuffed animals on my bed because I thought that they had feelings like I did, and I didn't want any one of them to get their feelings hurt because one was closer to me more than the others. So I always rotated them so that they would each have their time with me. It's really silly, but that's something that I used to do. And even my son now, he treats his stuffed animals like they have feelings because they're our friends. They are our friends. But yeah, try some of those things first. Always pray and meditate first, because all the answers are within, and God is there for you first and foremost. That's your best friend. So don't be worried if you lose friends or family through what you're going through, because God is always there for you, and He's all that you need. So treat it as such. And I know that these people that have been in my life are gonna miss me. They probably miss me already because they know I'm the real deal, and they know what they had, and that they'll probably never have it again in anybody else because they might not deserve it from here on out. Karma's coming to get them, and unless they make real changes in their life, they're not going to attract people at my vibration anymore. So it was nice knowing you. I hope you learned some lessons there. I have a boomerang effect on people because they'll realize what they had once it's gone, and then they try to come back, and then things are never the same. And that's not my fault, but it is what it is. Another thing I wanted to talk about today, there's a random girl that's been walking up and down the road trying to blend in with the neighborhood. Pretty sure she's wearing a wig, but she always has a baseball cap on, and she acts like she's walking, and then she'll stop at our mailbox and pretend to tie her shoes over and over, like 2 or 3 times. She'll retie her shoes. I don't know if she's been sent in to try and confiscate my mail or not, but I'm still not getting any mail. But I've drawn attention to the post office, so pretty sure whoever's at the post office is not willing to risk their job or going to jail for these people any longer, or they flat out got caught, so they have to send someone else to try and confiscate my mail. But anyway, she stands out like a sore thumb. Never seen her before, but now she's trying to do recon. It looks ridiculous. Also, animals. I've mentioned dogs. Dogs are like my spirit animals. They will always draw attention to things for you. They're so loyal. I hear dogs barking through the neighborhood whenever my uncle lets the person out of the attic. I'm pretty sure they run to another house in the neighborhood. I heard them running across the yard last night when I had my window open and I was journaling. And whenever he would let them out before, I would see him immediately run to the front door and look out the window. So I knew he was trying to make sure that they got out and nobody saw them, and they were on their way to their next location, whoever's hiding them out or wherever they might live over there. But I know that they stay close, and he waits for us to go to bed so he can sneak them in and out, or waits for, to see that I'm preoccupied doing something before he sneaks them in and out. But I've always seen it. It just makes me laugh. But yeah, animals. So we have a pond. I'm not sure if it's a pond anymore. We haven't had much rain, but there was lots of frogs, and we would hear frogs all the time. And they used to be at the back window, or the glass door window, and we would come home and see them kind of just sticking to the glass, which was cute. And one of them found its way in and died. So if I see them, I try to usher them off of the door before I go in, so that they don't get trapped and lose their life. But we came in the front door one day, and a frog just jumped on me. I didn't know it was a frog at first, but it jumped on me, and then it jumped on the door. I've never had a frog jump on me before, but after doing some research, apparently that's good luck. But yeah, dogs. Dogs will definitely alert you to things. I have a dog that's right next door. I think his name is Cooper. It would be awful if his name wasn't Cooper because I've been calling him that for like a year. But I really love this dog. I hope that I get to pet him one day because he's behind a fence. But he always alerts me to things. If somebody's come home and I'm trying to relax in the backyard, he will come and give me a quick bark to let me know the coast is not clear anymore. But he's great. Where I used to live with my ex-husband, there were dogs in the neighbor's yard, 2 of them. And whenever we went through our divorce, we lived together in that house for 7 months until things became final because we fought over the house and he was just not going to leave. So he lived like it was like a West Wing kind of thing. He lived in the den, and me and my boys stayed in our bedrooms. So we didn't have to interact very much, but the dogs would always bark as soon as I would go to bed. So I knew he was sneaking somebody in. And in the morning when he would get up to leave really early, they would start barking again. And I knew that whoever had been there was on their way out. So dogs will definitely alert you to things. So listen to them. They're talking to you. Another thing, my dog that I used to have when I was married, his name was Tyson. I still very much feel him with me, but he would alert me to things, and my ex-husband banished him to the basement for a long time because he knew that he was letting me know things, and I finally just had to go get him and let him stay in my room all the time because I wasn't going to do that to my baby. He was very much my baby. And soon after that, he got sick, and we had to put him to sleep, and I miss him. I miss him every day. But yeah, there's been attacks on me for a long time, and I knew I had gone through this stuff before, but I didn't realize the depth of it then until some of the things that I go through now, that a lot of this was happening back then too. I just looked at it as weird, strange coincidence to the things, that I was going through during my divorce because I knew about the gang stalking. But now that I look back, there was a time when I was sitting in the den and watching TV late, and I heard scratches up against the siding right behind where I was sitting, the siding of the house on the wall behind where I was sitting. And I thought, that's somebody. That there's no trees right there. It's just a little pad where the car would be parked. And I heard the scratches, and I went outside, and I heard a big boom before I went outside. That's what made me go out there. And there was a rake that I had been using for yard work, a little tiny rake where I was cleaning up the trimmings under the hedges that had been cut, and it was laying on the deck, and I had leaned it up against the deck, and there was no wind. So I was like, oh, somebody was using that to scratch against the siding. And then quickly they threw it down and ran. So I knew that they had used that rake to bother me. But it wasn't until a couple of days later when I was working at Jets and I was delivering, and the drivers would park up against the side of the building so that we could get in and out quickly. And one of the other drivers came back, and she's like, Carrie, who scratched up your car? And I was like, what? Somebody scratched up my car. So I go out and look, and when my car was underneath the lights beside the building, you could see the scrapes all around it. And when I looked closer, they had used that rake because it was the exact teeth marks from the rake, and you could see as it moved over the curves of the car that it would pick up some of the extra teeth, and it was all of the teeth from the rake had scratched up my car. So I thought they were scratching the siding on the house, but they were actually scratching up my car. So that was something that I went through. Also, my ex-husband didn't have a car for a while, and so when I was pregnant, I would have to wake up at like 5 in the morning. He worked at Volkswagen, and I would have to wake up at 5 in the morning to take him to work. And it was around Christmas time, because when I came home, it was still dark outside, and some of the Christmas decorations had fallen over. So before I went and unlocked the door and went inside, I started picking up the Christmas decorations and resetting them. And I heard something behind me, and I looked, and there was a guy dressed very military-like, all black, had like combat boots on, and he was at the end of the driveway, and he just stood there looking at me. And it scared the crap out of me, and I immediately ran inside and locked the door, called my ex-husband, told him about it. So things like that happened to me. Before I moved into this house, there were people that would come and bang on my apartment door at like 3 a.m. and I would immediately contact my neighbor downstairs and ask him if he heard it. And this is when I thought we were friends. And he would be like, no. He seemed to never hear anything, even though it was always loud. And I knew you could hear everything because I could hear everything from the stairwell. It was enclosed, so everything was loud and echoed. But landmark your trauma. Have a frame of reference for it, because when you start to realize these things, and if you voice your concerns, they're going to try to gaslight you immediately and say that it's all in your head, or you're making it up, or you're paranoid. And I don't want you to backslide from the progress that you're making. So landmark your trauma. Have a few things that you know for sure are real, are happening, you have concrete proof of it, and whenever you think about going back to these people, or whenever you think about giving them a second chance, or like I did, would rather have been crazy like they were calling me than to realize that it was a fact that these people were doing you wrong and they had a whole conspiracy against you. Landmark your trauma. When my house got vandalized, of course I've shown you guys the FSU shirt that got marked up, and I keep that. That is a definite thing that happened. It's in your face. There's no denying it. I know I didn't do it to my own stuff, so if ever I had started to think maybe this stuff didn't happen, because my ex-husband told me that we could stay together at one point, but I could never mention. He tried to make me promise to never bring up anything that happened again if we stayed together. And if I did bring it up again, then I was a liar, because I promised to not do that. So that was a brainwashing tactic that he tries to use on me. And if you look back at the shirt, oh, that bird was close. If you look back at the shirt, it will remind you, or whatever you have that's happened to you, it will remind you that it is in fact real. You didn't fabricate it. I also keep an old hamper for my dirty clothes that I used to use, and instead of looking at it as a traumatic thing, I keep it because it's a landmark. I had bought several storage containers when I started to redo my house. When we bought it, I started to personalize things and paint, and that was another way that I realized my house was vandalized, because I used rollers on everything, and then I started to see brush marks. And some of these paints that I used were custom colors that I had mixed, and you couldn't recreate that unless you were me and you knew what I had used. So the paint was off, brush marks were there, which I had not used any brushes except for around the trim, and brushes were used to repaint in the middle of the wall. But I had bought hampers and storage containers from his sister. She had put them on the marketplace, and I said, hey, I want those. But when I met up with her, I didn't buy them all. I just bought certain ones, and the one I chose to be my hamper was very wide and deep, and I also noticed paint on it after the house was vandalized, and I drew attention to that to my ex-husband and told him, there's even paint on the hamper, look at the hamper. And I was doing clothes one day, and I had the hamper in the laundry room, and he had still had a belt and some pants, and I washed everything that was in there, but I put the belt back in the hamper. And he left one day, and he came back in and he emptied the hamper. I heard the belt hit the floor. He emptied the hamper, and I was like, why is he doing that? But later I realized that he had switched the hamper out. Now the hamper had a broken handle that had come unraveled, and he switched it out with one of the other storage containers that I did not buy from his sister. It was different, the same colors, the same style, but it was tall and skinny instead of wide and deep. And he tried to replace it with something that wasn't marked up with paint, because he knew probably could not get the paint off of that. There was no way to cover that up. But he cut the handle off of the other one to make it look like the one that I had had before, even though it was, the shape and size were different. So I have a very good hamper that could have two handles, but he cut one off to make it look like the other one, and I still have that hamper. And whenever I would think about, going back to him, I would look at the hamper, and that was a landmark for me, something that would pull me back to the right frame of reference and remind me that what he did to me was very real. It wasn't made up. I know these things are true. This is factual. So try to hold on to things like that for yourself so that you won't go back and you won't be confused and they won't be able to gaslight you, because you have something, no matter how small it is, that's concrete and it proves what you know is factual. Also, another thing that I want to talk about is my ex love interest. Oh, before I talk about that, also when I came home one night from working at the pizza place, my boss had let me off early. This is before I'd become a manager there, and he had cut my shift early. And my ex-husband actually had his girlfriend inside the house when I came home, and they snuck her in a bedroom because I was bringing by pizza that he had wanted me to make for him, and he thought I was just dropping it off and going back to work. He didn't know that my shift had been cut. So when I tried to hand him the stuff, he was just going to go back inside, and I was like, no, I'm off. I'm coming home. I'm done for the night. And I went in my bedroom and started changing into some comfy clothes, and his friend made an excuse to come to the bathroom and get the scale out of the bathroom that was next to my bedroom once they realized I wasn't leaving. And he snuck the girl out of my son's room and tried to get her out of the house while I was changing clothes. And my dog at the time, the one he banished to the basement, was barking and barking and barking and barking. And him and his best friend have this thing that they do. Hi, Anderson. Welcome to the chat. That's not his real name, by the way. But they do this thing where they try to imitate old people, and they say, Shia, Shia, to each other. And besides my dog barking, whenever she left the back door, I heard him say, Shia. So he had actually had people in the house while I was at work, and this was probably a couple of days after I had let him come back home, after realizing that he had cheated, and I kicked him out and I let him come back home. And he still snuck her back in, like right after that, after trying to convince me that he was ready to, work on things and all that. So the audacity. They have it, though. They have it. So the ex-love interest, I'm going to say his name, Adam. He is going to try to act fake awake. He is going to try to come back. He has studied me. He uses black magic. He is in this cult. He wanted me to chase him, but I'm better than that. I don't chase, I attract. And I would absolutely not chase him. I saw a reading yesterday that very much resonated with me, talking about imagine if you set a couch that you didn't want anymore on the curb and someone else put it in their house trying to make you jealous with it. And that's like him and his little love interest wannabe witch. She has fake profiles, and we had an encounter, which I very much regret, but I've forgiven myself for that. And it was somewhat romantic, but I still consider myself celibate because he could not perform, if you know what I mean. But he tried to make me sick. He is sick, and he tried to make me sick, and they're always checking all the time to see if I'm getting sick. And I'm not sick, but they wanted to make me sick. And all of this spell work and everything has made him even worse, particularly in the head, because he's a fierce stalker, tries to hide himself, but I know that he's around all the time. But I wanted to speak to him directly today because there's not a chance. There's not a chance in hell that I would ever go back to my old self or be trapped by this stuff. So you're not allowed in my energy whatsoever. There's no chance of you coming back acting fake awake, having studied me by my videos, or anything that you could watch me do. It's not going to happen. You had your chance. I knew he was hanging out with my family. At first, when he tried to enter my life, he used to be my brother's best friend, and I let him stay at our house when I was in my first marriage a lot because I could tell that he didn't like being at home. He liked being with my brother who lived with me. I let my oldest, he was actually my cousin, but I called my cousins my brothers for a long time because I lived with them, and they started calling me their sister. So I started calling them my brothers. I no longer do that, but my cousin had run away a lot when I lived in California, and when we moved back here, I let him move in with us before we had my oldest son. So his friend would stay for weeks at a time, Adam, and they would hang out in the backyard and make fires in the woods and cut down a little area for chilling. So I knew this person from a long, long time ago. But when he tried to re-enter my life, he told me that he wasn't hanging out with my family because I told him that was a deal breaker. And when I cut him off the first time, because he would always disappear around the holidays, so I figured very much that he was in a relationship, and he just didn't want to be honest about that. So I gave him the old take care text, and he got mad, and he posted a video or a picture, actually a screenshot from my cousin's Instagram, where they had hung out recently on New Year's Eve of last year. And so I knew that he had been lying to me about hanging out with my family the whole time. And when we had our encounter, I told him that he needed to get away from those people, that there was no way that we could ever be together because we weren't vibing the same and we had to vibrate the same. And he said that he had actually spent a lot of time with them in the past month. So, and he tried to gaslight me and say that everything that I was telling him that I was going through was just family stuff. But he in fact knew about it and was a part of it the whole time. So, I tried to cover him in my light. I tried to warn him about these snakes, but he made the wrong choice. And once he did that, he has texted me every now and then, trying to get back in my energy, trying to say, I'll do whatever you want. He loves my energy. Of course you do. But it's not going to happen. So I'm waiting for my kingdom spouse patiently. I'm going to be married, hopefully not too much longer, to this person. And I rebuke all of the blessing blockers, including you and my family and any fake friends out there. You cannot come in my energy. You do not have permission. God, he had to set me aside. I had to be alone in the 3D to complete this mission that he put me on, and I am going to complete it until the mission is complete. Nothing will stop me. So I had to walk alone to be prepared for the blessings that I'm about to receive. I had to learn these lessons. I had to heal, because he will not bring my divine partner until I'm healed completely from these things, because I'm not going to bring that into my new relationship. So I had to walk alone. I'm very much in my north node, and I'm going to get the job done. So I just wanted to make that message loud and clear today. I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing a lot better, and I'm only going to continue to do that. I love you. God loves you, and you're never alone. Bye, guys.